All right, so today we're going deep on Bob Camblin.
Ah, yes, Bob Camblin.
Widely recognized.
Enigmatic figure.
Yeah, enigmatic. And we have a ton of material here.
We do. We have quotes from the man himself.
From Camblin.
Yeah, we have reviews of his books, Zen and the Art of Enlightenment.
Bob Camblin, Incomplete Works Volume 1.
Right.
We even have like a YouTube meditation
Oh,
inspired by his art.
Interesting.
We've got like biographical detail.
Historical context.
It's a lot.
Yeah, a real wealth of information.
Yeah, so how are we going to tackle this?
Well, I think our goal today should be to sort of extract the core ideas.
The recurring themes.
Yeah, that run through his work.
His life.
You
So
got
we can
that.
kind of understand this guy.
Yeah, who is this guy? What was he all about?
Right, without, getting too bogged down.
Right, not getting lost in the weeds.
Too overwhelming.
Exactly.
So as we go, I think we should be looking for those connections.
Aha moment.
The aha moments.
Yeah.
Like how does it all
fit together?
fit together?
Exactly.
Because his work is very diverse.
Yeah, and there are a lot of different interpretations out there.
Oh yeah, a lot of different ways to look at it.
Yeah, so let's start with Camblin's own words.
Okay, sounds good.
We've got this collection of his quotes.
Yeah, some of them are a little contradictory.
Yeah, right off the bat.
Like paradoxical.
Yeah, art is and it isn't.
That's a good one.
When you think, don't act. When you act, don't think. What do you make of that?
Well, I think he's trying to tell us something about his creative process.
Yeah.
Like with the art is and it isn't. Maybe he's saying art can't be defined?
It's fluid.
Yeah, it's always changing.
Maybe it's not even a thing.
Right. Maybe it's an anti-thing.
An anti-thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And with that second quote.
When you think, don't act. When you act, don't think.
Right. It's like he's saying don't overthink it.
Yeah. Trust your gut.
Trust your instinct.
Go with the flow.
Yeah.
Let the art create itself.
Don't get in your own way.
Exactly.
Yeah, I like that. There's another one here about time. Okay.
Fortunately, some things remain forever, or another 10 years, perhaps.
Oh, that's classic Camblin.
It's funny, but also kind of dark.
Yeah, like he's not really sure if anything lasts.
Right.
It's a bit cynical.
Yeah, and then there's that bit from Saltaire Summer, 1967.
Oh, yeah, where he talks about memory.
Yeah, about that moment where he could see his own memories fading.
Like he could see them decaying.
Yeah, it's a bit heavy.
It is. It's like he's really aware of how fleeting everything is.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big theme in Eastern philosophy.
Right, impermanence.
Impermanence. Yeah, and we know Camblin was into the Zen Buddhism.
Right, he was a big reader.
Yeah, so that connection's definitely there.
It makes sense.
Okay, what about this one? Look into the atom, you get what you need. Look into magic, and you get what you need. Philosophy and art are in both.
Whoa.
Right? He was also really into this idea of a bright gray.
Through common sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like he's interested in both science and magic.
Yeah, he's not picking sides.
He's looking for connections.
Yeah, like maybe they both lead to the same place.
To some kind of truth.
Yeah, and that bright gray idea.
Maybe that's where science and magic meet.
Yeah, where logic and intuition kind of balance each other out.
It's not black and white.
It's that gray area.
Yeah, nuanced perspective.
Nuance. Yeah, I like that.
Me too.
Okay, here's one about belief.
Oh boy.
The sixth sense is to be without a doubt senza dubio, no doubt. And then later he says, believing and knowing are different. Most people practice a belief or a religion. They were raised in mystics, know something else.
Interesting.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
Seems like there might be a bit of an evolution in his thinking there.
Like maybe he started out valuing certainty.
Yeah, without a doubt.
But then he kind of shifted towards this idea of direct experience.
Like the mystics.
Yeah, like knowing something beyond belief.
Like you can't just inherit it from your family.
You got to go out and find it yourself.
Exactly.
Okay, this next one's short but powerful.
Okay, hit me.
Find something in nature that completes you, and then surrender.
Wow.
I mean,
That's deep.
yeah, it's like he's encouraging us to connect with nature.
To find wholeness.
And then to let go.
Surrender control.
Yeah.
Surrender to something bigger than ourselves.
Yeah. Nature is definitely a big theme in his work.
And in his life.
Yeah.
He was a nomadic artist for a while.
Right. Traveling all over.
Living close to nature.
Yeah. So it makes sense that this idea would resonate with him.
Absolutely.
Speaking of his artistic journey, he seemed to go through a pretty significant shift in terms of his views on art.
Yeah, how sick.
Well, at first he was all about art for art's sake.
Right, the classic view.
But then it became more personal.
More urgent.
Yeah, more urgent. Art for life's sake, or art for my sake, or art for survival's sake.
That's a big change.
It is.
Maybe he got disillusioned with the art world.
Yeah, maybe he felt like art needed to be more than just an aesthetic pursuit.
More connected to life.
Just a survival.
Right, like a basic human need.
Yeah, I think that's a really interesting aspect of his story.
Me too.
Okay, here's another metaphor.
Okay, I love his metaphors.
Me too.
Yeah.
He says, you have to step off the train of thought to find true power and laughter.
Stepping off the train of thought.
Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think it's about escaping the mental chatter.
The constant thinking.
It worries.
The judgments.
Right, and finding a place of stillness.
Of presence.
Yeah, where you can just be.
And that's where the true power comes from.
Yeah, and the laughter.
The true laugh.
Like a genuine, unburdened joy.
Yeah, I love that image.
Me too. It's so vivid.
Okay, here's a little anecdote.
All right.
So apparently Camblin once saw this person who was talking about changing the world.
Okay.
But then the same person was super meticulous about counting out 21 cents.
21 cents.
Yeah, like they were really focused on getting the exact change. It's kind of funny.
It is. It's like a little Zen koan.
Yeah, like what's the deeper meaning there?
Maybe it's about the contrast between our big ideals and our everyday actions.
Right, like we talk about changing the world.
But we're still worried about 21 cents.
Yeah, it's a bit ironic.
Definitely.
Okay, well, one more quote, and then I think we should move on.
Okay.
This one's really sensory.
Right.
He says, the cosmos waves at me with tree leaves.
That's beautiful.
I know, right? It's like he sees the interconnectedness of everything.
Yeah, the cosmic and the everyday.
And tree leaves are like a message from the universe.
Yeah, a little wave. Hello.
I love that. Okay, so we know that Camblin was also really into haiku.
Oh, yeah, the Japanese poetry form.
Yeah, and it makes sense given his interest in nature.
And his focus on capturing those fleeting moments.
Right, the simplicity of haiku.
The depth.
It all seems to align with his artistic sensibility.
Absolutely.
All right, let's move on to his thoughts on argument and communication.
Okay.
This is one of my favorites. Much better than arguing is to look at my watercolor palette.
That's a great line.
I know, right? It's like he's saying words can get in the way.
Of understanding.
Yeah.
Maybe art is a more direct form of communication.
Yeah, maybe it bypasses the ego.
The need to be right.
Right. And then he says, if you argue or if you agree, you may learn, but you do not communicate. So even agreement isn't enough.
It's not about being on the same page intellectually.
It's about something deeper.
A shared experience.
Yeah, a connection.
Right.
Okay, here's one about change.
Okay.
Revolution leads to changes. Evolution is change.
He's making a distinction there.
Yeah, between revolution and evolution.
Like revolution might just be superficial.
Yeah, it's rearranging the furniture.
But evolution is something deeper.
More fundamental.
It's a transformation.
Right.
It comes from within.
Okay, now for some of his more cryptic pronouncements.
Okay, bring on the mystery.
All right, here's one. Less only is.
Less only is.
What do you make of that?
I think it's about simplicity.
Stripping away the unnecessary.
Stewing to the essence.
Yeah.
Like the truth is often hidden in plain sight.
Yeah.
You just got to clear away the clutter.
Okay, here's another one. It's
That's
a bit longer. The gate stays open, the fence is broken. He keeps searching, but does not know the size of his quarry. Yet he has faith. He looks in all directions. If he could only see all around all at once.
Wow, that's evocative.
And I know, right? It's like a riddle.
Yeah, what's the quarry?
What's he searching for?
And why can't he see it?
Maybe it's a metaphor for the artistic process.
Yeah, or for life itself.
The search for meaning.
Right, we're all searching.
But we don't always know what we're looking for.
And we don't always see the whole picture.
But we keep going.
We have faith.
Yeah.
I like that.
Okay, let's talk about his thoughts on artistic intention.
Okay.
This is a good one. There are no mistakes. You are doing the best you can, and mistakes are nature's way of telling you to trust your instincts.
Oh, I love that.
It's so encouraging.
Yeah, it's like he's giving us permission to mess up.
To experiment.
To trust the process.
Yeah, and to listen to our gut.
Our instincts.
Yeah.
It's a very freeing way to look at creativity.
Absolutely.
No mistakes, just opportunities to learn.
All right, one last quote and I will move on.
Okay.
This one's about ego.
Oh, boy.
Your ego hidden and following you as gracefully as a goldfish's shit, folded under the waving tail. How neat that thought is.
Wow.
He was very observant.
Of goldfish?
Yeah, and of human nature.
Yeah. It's a funny image.
It is, but also kind of profound.
Right, like our ego is always there.
Even when we try to hide it.
It's following us around.
Like a little goldfish turd.
Under the waving tail.
It's hard to escape.
It is.
Okay, so given his emphasis on seeing and perception, it makes sense that he developed this technique called muchas volantes.
Right, the floating dot.
The dots and dashes.
Yeah, he was fascinated by how we see.
Oh, our brains construct images.
And he wanted to play with that.
To challenge our perceptions.
Yeah, Muchas Volantes is all about optical illusions.
Making the viewer work.
Engaging their minds.
It's a far cry from his earlier abstract impressionism.
Right, which was more about emotional expression.
Yeah, so this was a definite shift in his style.
A more intellectual approach.
And speaking of intellect, the book review we have describes his art as questions disguised as images.
Paradoxes made visible.
Yeah, it's a great description.
It really captures his love of ambiguity.
Yeah, he wasn't trying to give us answers.
He was asking questions.
Making us...
Thinking us.
Yeah.
And we know he was a big fan of Zen Buddhism and the I Ching.
Right, so how do you think those philosophies influenced his art?
Well, both Zen and the I Ching emphasize nonlinear thinking.
The acceptance of change, the interconnectedness of everything.
Right, and you can definitely see those ideas reflected in his work.
The layered meanings.
The fluid forms.
The sense of constant transformation.
Exactly.
And the review of Zen and the Art of Enlightenment actually talks about this.
It says his art encourages contemplation.
Like a visual meditation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good way to put it.
Okay, let's talk about his collaborations with Earl Staley and Joe Tate.
Oh yeah, the holding firm.
B&E Productions.
They were quite a trio.
They really challenged the idea of the solitary artist.
Yeah, they were all about collaboration.
Shared creative spaces. Unconventional exhibitions.
They did a show in Joe Tate's backyard.
Yeah, and one in a campground.
The camping show.
It's like they were trying to break down the barriers between art and life.
Yeah, and between the artist and the viewer.
They wanted to create a more inclusive experience.
A dialogue.
Yeah, I think that's really cool.
Me too.
Okay, let's delve into the KPFT Radio 90 piece.
Ah, yes, the reimagined birth of Venus.
It's such a striking image.
Yeah, it's full of symbols and text fragments.
And that big KPFT 90 radio marking.
Right. What do you make of that?
Well, KPFT was this community radio station in Houston.
Listener supported.
Yeah, known for its progressive programming.
Countercultural.
Yeah, and Camblin was apparently a fan.
He loved rock and roll.
Yeah, so I think the radio station represents his connection to Houston.
To the local culture.
Yeah, it's like he's grounding this classical image in a specific time and place.
Right, making it relevant to his own experience.
And how do you think this piece connects to Zen Buddhism?
Well, the Venus figure is really fragmented.
Made up of all these different elements.
Yeah, and that kind of reflects the Zen idea of emptiness.
Sunyata.
Right, emptiness, not as nothingness.
But as the absence of a fixed inherent self.
Exactly, and the self in Zen is seen as a collection of experiences.
A constantly shifting process.
But not a solid entity.
So the KPFT Radio 90 Venus is like a visual representation of that.
Yeah, a self made up of cultural fragments.
And then there's the I Ching connection.
Hexagram 61, inner truth.
Right. How do you think that fits in?
Well, inner truth is all about sincerity.
Authenticity.
Yeah, and the artwork is so layered.
Full of different messages.
It's like Camblin is exploring how we construct our own truth.
Amidst all the noise
of the world.
Of the media.
Right, and the radio is a symbol of that.
How information is transmitted.
Shaped.
Manipulated.
Yeah, so the artwork is like a meditation on how we navigate all of that.
To find our own inner truth.
Our own voice.
And the YouTube meditation really takes this idea and runs with it.
Yeah, it encourages us to see ourselves as complex beings.
Shaped by our experiences.
By the world around us.
By the ideas we encounter.
Right, like that Venus figure.
Woven from cultural fragments.
And it reminds us that our sense of self is always evolving.
It's not fixed.
It's a process.
A journey.
Yeah, and the meditation invites us to reflect on that.
To become more aware of the forces that are shaping us.
And to ultimately find our own unique path.
Yeah, I think that's a really powerful message.
Me too.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk about Camblin's biography.
Okay.
So he was born in Oklahoma in 1928.
Right.
And his parents were both artists.
So he had art in his blood from the beginning.
Yeah, and they exposed him to all sorts of different mediums.
Painting, drawing, sculpture.
And he went on to study at the Kansas City Art Institute.
Where he really honed his skills.
And developed a passion for art history.
He's a voracious reader.
Yeah, he was always learning.
Absorbing new ideas.
And then he got a Fulbright scholarship to study in Italy. Yeah, so he spent a year immersed in European art and culture.
That must have been a huge influence on him.
It was. He was really inspired by the Uffizi Gallery.
In Florence.
Yeah, and by the Capuchin catacombs in Rome.
Those are pretty intense.
Yeah, they are.
Skulls and bones arranged in these elaborate patterns.
Yeah, it's no wonder he was drawn to the darker side of things.
Right. Death and impermanence.
And his upbringing in Oklahoma also seems to have had an impact.
Yeah, Ponca City.
Right, there's that iconic pioneer woman statue there.
Yeah, and the Grand Marland Estate.
Yeah, so he was surrounded by this kind of grandeur.
And history.
And that pioneer woman image actually pops up in some of his later works.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a personal emblem for him.
Connected to his mother.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how these early experiences kind of seep into his art.
Yeah, they're all there in the mix.
Okay, so after art school, Camblin started teaching.
Right, at various universities.
Yeah, Ringley School of Art.
University of Illinois.
University of Detroit.
University of Utah.
Rice University.
He got around.
He did. And he was a really respected teacher.
Yeah, his students loved him.
But then in 1976, he made this big decision.
What was that?
He quit teaching and became a nomadic artist.
Wow.
Yeah, just packed up and hit the road.
Dedicated to his art.
Yeah, I think he felt like he needed that freedom.
To fully pursue his vision.
To escape the constraints of academia.
Yeah, and to experience the world.
So where did he go?
Well, he traveled all over
Europe, Pacific.
Mexico. He was constantly on the move.
And he was making art the whole time.
Selling his work to support himself.
Living a true bohemian lifestyle.
Yeah, and his work from this period is really interesting.
Oh, so
It's more personal.
more intimate.
Yeah, lots of drawings and sketches.
There's little musings.
Like little glimpses into his mind.
And a lot of this work wasn't originally intended for public display.
It was just for him.
Yeah, like a private journal.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about the evolution of his artistic styles. So he started out as an abstract impressionist.
Like a lot of artists of his generation.
But then he developed this unique technique.
Muchas volantes.
Yeah, what do you think prompted that shift?
Well, abstract impressionism is all about emotional expression.
Subjective experience.
But muchas volantes is more about perception.
Engaging the viewer's mind.
Yeah, it's a more intellectual approach.
And I think Camblin was always pushing the boundaries.
Experimenting with new ways of seeing.
He was inspired by Dada and surrealism.
Those early 20th century movements.
Yeah, they were all about challenging conventional thinking.
Using humor and absurdity.
And I think you can see those influences in Muchas Volantes.
Definitely.
It's not just about pretty pictures.
It's about making you think.
Making you question what you're seeing.
Right.
Okay, let's talk about the holding firm.
Okay, his collaborative period.
With Earl Staley and Joe Tate.
They were really active in the Houston art scene.
Yeah, they had this shared studio space.
Where they would work together.
Yeah, collaborative drawing and painting sessions.
Brainstorming ideas.
And they had these really unconventional exhibitions.
Like that one in Joe Tate's backyard.
Joe Tate's backyard.
Yeah, they called it Joe Tate's backyard.
And then there was the camping show.
Where they set up their art in a campground.
Yeah, it's like they were trying to break free from the traditional gallery setting.
To create a more immersive experience.
More interactive.
More fun.
Yeah, they didn't take themselves too seriously.
But they were serious about their art.
Right.
There's a good balance.
Okay, so later in his career, Camblin kind of withdrew from the art world.
Yeah, he became more reclusive.
And he started signing some of his work as anonymous.
Anonymous.
Yeah.
What do you think about that?
Well, I think he was disillusioned with the art market.
The whole system.
The commercial pressures.
The pursuit of fame.
Yeah, he didn't want any part of that.
He just wanted to make art.
For himself.
And maybe for a select few.
Yeah, he wasn't interested in mass appeal.
And he eventually moved away from Houston. First to Oregon.
And then to Louisiana.
So he was definitely retreating from the spotlight.
Yeah, he was seeking solitude.
A quiet place to work.
And as a result, his work is pretty scarce today.
Yeah, it's hard to find.
But when it does surface, it's highly sought after.
By collectors.
Yeah, it's valuable stuff.
Which is ironic considering he rejected the art market.
Yeah, but it speaks to the power of his work.
The lasting impact he had.
Even though he wasn't seeking fame.
It found him anyway.
Yeah.
In a way.
Okay, let's talk about some of the recurring themes and motifs in his work.
Okay.
Scarecrows seem to be pretty significant.
Yeah, they pop up a lot.
And we know he was inspired by Gunter Grass's novel Dog Years.
Which also features scarecrows.
Yeah, so what do you think they represent for Camblin?
Well, traditionally, scarecrows are protectors.
Guardians of the fields.
But they're also kind of vulnerable.
Lonely figures.
Standing out there in the elements.
Exposed.
Yeah, and I think for Camblin, they might represent renewal.
Metamorphosis.
The cycle of life and death.
Yeah, that makes sense given his interest in nature.
And impermanence.
Right.
The scarecrow is kind of like a symbol of that.
Standing between seasons.
Witnessing the changes. It's a
Yeah.
powerful image.
Traps are another recurring motif.
Oh, yeah. The book review mentions those.
Yeah, it says they represent entanglement,
Right.
both literal and metaphorical.
Right. Like we can be trapped by our fears,
Our circumstances.
our own minds,
And Camblin's traps are often broken.
or sprung.
Yeah, like maybe he's exploring the possibility of escape.
Or maybe he's saying we're always caught in some way.
It's a bit ambiguous.
like a lot of his work.
Are there any other recurring images that stand out to you?
Yeah, he uses masks and gloves quite a bit.
And architectural fragments?
What do you think those might symbolize?
Well, masks could represent hidden identities,
The different roles we play?
the things we conceal,
And gloves could symbolize touch,
or the lack of touch,
protection.
isolation,
Yeah, those are all possibilities.
and architectural fragments,
Maybe those represent the structures that confine us,
or support us,
the boundaries we create.
the limitations we impose on ourselves.
Yeah, I think it's all open to interpretation.
It's Camblin.
Exactly.
Okay, let's talk about his use of text.
Okay, that's a really interesting aspect of his work.
Yeah, he incorporates text into his images in all sorts of ways.
It's not just labeling.
It's part of the composition.
Yeah, it adds another layer of meaning.
Sometimes it's like a clue.
Sometimes it's a distraction.
Sometimes it's a poem.
Yeah. It's hard to say what it all means.
But this definitely makes you think.
It makes you look closer.
Yeah, and that's what Camblin wanted.
He wanted to engage the viewer.
He wanted his art to be a puzzle.
A challenge.
Yeah, a puzzle that wants to be solved.
That's a good way to put it.
And it speaks to his whole philosophy on art.
Right. He believed that art should speak directly to the soul.
Without needing a lot of intellectual interpretation.
But his work is so layered.
So full of hidden meanings.
Yeah. So how do we reconcile those two ideas?
I think it's about the experience of art.
Not just the understanding.
Yeah, Camblin wanted his art to create a resonance,
A feeling.
an intuition.
Yeah, and the intellectual stuff is there.
But it's not the primary focus.
It's more like a bonus.
Yeah, and the book review talks about this.
It says his art is a portal to heightened awareness.
It makes you pay attention
To the world around you.
to your own thoughts and feelings.
Right.
And this brings us to the concept of everyday enlightenment.
Yeah, that's a big one.
It's about finding beauty in the mundane,
In the absurd.
in the impermanence of things.
Yeah, and I think Camblin's art really embodies that.
It's full of humor and irony.
And unexpected juxtapositions.
It makes you look at the world in a new way.
With fresh eyes.
Yeah, and that's what enlightenment is all about.
Seeing things as they truly are.
Without judgment.
Without attachment.
Just appreciating the moment.
Yeah.
So Bob Camblin was a complex guy,
He
a
was.
true original,
An innovator.
a provocateur.
A philosopher.
Yeah, he was all of those things.
And more.
And his art continues to challenge us.
To inspire us.
To make us think.
And to see the world in a new way.
So to wrap things up, I want to leave you with a thought.
Okay.
Camblin once said, "You never miss the water until the wells run dry."
That's a good one.
Yeah, and it makes me think about all the things we take for granted.
Our health.
Our relationships.
Our freedom.
Yeah, and it's only when we lose those things that we realize how precious they are.
How important.
So what well in your life are you taking for granted?
That's a good question.
What are you not seeing?
What are you missing?
Maybe it's time to take a closer look.
With fresh eyes.
Like Camblin would.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of Bob Camblin.
It's been a pleasure.
Until next time.
Keep diving.